Hey everybody, today's video is going to be about shaping. Now, I love shaping. I think it's one of the best things about ABA, and I highly recommend it, and I highly adore it, and I use it all the time at work, and it's absolutely amazing. Shaping is great because it teaches new behaviors and it's very positive. It uses a lot of reinforcement, no punishment, and it implements extinction. And it's just a very positive experience for the learner. And it's very, it could be incidental and it could be very contrived too, but you can do it all the time, everywhere. And it's great. It's really effective, and it's especially useful for those who are nonverbal because, like I've said in previous videos, you don't need to speak, you don't need to give direction in order to change behavior. And this is a great way of implementing it. So let's begin. So what is shaping? Shaping is the differential reinforcement of successive approximations of the desired behavior. So what does that mean? What they're basically saying is every time your client or whoever you're working with does something that's even remotely close to what you want them to do, you give them a reward. And once they get that down, then you do something that's even closer to the desired behavior. So, for example, I want Momo to pick up, sorry, Momo's my dog. You want Momo to pick up a ball and bring it to me. So, like, how am I gonna teach him without using words? He doesn't understand, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna shape the behavior. So for example, 1, if he touches the ball with a paw, reward. And I'm gonna reward him until he's consistently touching the ball with a paw when I'm giving him the command. Then what's next? I want him to touch the ball with his nose. So for this, I'm not going to reward touching with the paw anymore. I know he can do that, that's great, but I want him to learn how to touch it with his nose. So if he touches it with his paw, no reward. But he's gonna try, he's gonna do something else because here's extinction in play. He's gonna do a little burst of that, keep going, then he's gonna try something new. The second his nose touches the ball, reward, automatic reward. And you're just gonna keep doing that for a little bit until he's consistently touching his ball with his nose. All right, now he's doing that, then what am I gonna do? I want him to touch it to his mouth. So, same thing, gonna put touching ball with paw on extinction, touching ball to nose on extinction, and instead he's only going to get rewards when touching the ball with his mouth. And it's gonna take him a while, but it's okay, he's gonna get it, and once he does, boom, reward right away. And that process is gonna repeat, so the next step would be putting the ball in his mouth. When he can hold the ball in his mouth, reward. When then, holding the ball in the mouth for a longer period of time. So for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, until, he can walk over to me. And, that's how we shape the behavior. Eventually, he's gonna be able to hold the ball for like a second, then it's gonna be 2 seconds, then it's gonna be 2 seconds and 2 steps closer to me, and then a little bit closer to me, and eventually, boom, he's gonna be bringing the ball back to me. And we have just shaped a new behavior. And I know that might be a little confusing because it's using an animal for behavior training, but all these ABA terms are applicable to animals and humans as well. So it's a good example, but I have another one coming up too. But let's dive a little bit deeper into the definition. So shaping, the technical mechanism of it is you're rewarding a response class. So you are identifying a response class that you want to reward, and then once they succeed in reward and successfully completing that response class, you are then going to put that response class on extinction, and then you're going to differentially reward the newer response class. So you're just going to build your way up, essentially. Any lower steps, any steps that are underneath the step now, extinction, you're only gonna go up. And so that's called response differentiation, when you're only rewarding one response class over another. That's response differentiation. Shaping is really great. It's used across dimensions, so magnitude is a very common one. You see that a lot with voice volume. For those learners who can't really speak very loudly, you differentially reward louder voice volume. So if we're talking at 10 decibels, great, I'll reward you. Once you talk at 10 decibels consistently, you gotta talk at 15. When you can talk at 15, boom, you get your reward. Talk at 20, boom, there's your reward. Talk at 15 again, you got nothing. You gotta talk at 20. Otherwise, we can't give you anything. So it's been clinically proven to help with voice volume a lot. Now, of course, shaping can be used with a variety of other tools that we have. So for voice volume, for example, you're gonna be using that with modeling. You're gonna be using that with visual cues so they can see how loud they're speaking and what they need to achieve. But yeah, shaping is very versatile, so it's a good companion and a good team player. You can also shape across behaviors. So this would be like rate or frequency, duration, if you want them to work faster, if you want them to work longer, if you want them to practice longer, or, be able to be engaged with their work longer, that's shaping as well. And then again, work for a minute, great, work for 2 minutes. Now you've gotten 2 minutes, okay, we want you to work for 3 minutes now, so on and so forth. And it's such a gradual increase, not a gradual increase, but you know what I mean? It's not like going from you're not supposed to go from 0 to 10 minutes right away. You're supposed to do gradual, small steps. Or, they're just not gonna be successful if you have unrealistic steps in between. So it's better to go in small increments and teach them that way. How do we shape? Now, shaping is pretty simple in a sense. I like to think of it as creating a task analysis. So create a mini task analysis of what it is you wanna shape. So for example, let's do a feeding disorder. So let's say someone doesn't like peas. How are we gonna get someone to eat peas? Well, what are the steps in eating peas? You gotta pick it up, put it to your mouth, open your mouth, put it in, chew, swallow. That's my mini task analysis of eating a pea. All right, and then you need to determine the different steps, so that's what we did, and determine the criterion success level. So at what point are you going to say, okay, they're good, let's move on? So maybe, 3 successive trials at one step, then we move on to the next step. And you need to identify the very first step that you want to reward. That's the most important part. What is the most reasonable step? If you have a learner who really hates vegetables, maybe even picking up a pea is not an option. Maybe the first step is just sitting at a table with the pea. And that's where you're gonna have to start. You have to be realistic about it, and you gotta make adjustments to it. It's really important that you don't stay at one level for too long. Stay at one level for too long, that causes a little bit of problems, and you kind of get stuck in that level. So make sure you limit it. Make sure you come up with a decision okay, we're not gonna do more than 10 trials at this level. If he can't get it, then we need to step back and we need to create more steps in the task analysis that we've created to really get him to be successful. It's a bit difficult, to create this task analysis sometimes because we just assume that there are so many things that they will do, but shaping, there's no directions given, it's just done all the time. And that's one of the negative things about shaping. So let's talk about the cons. The cons of shaping is that, you always need to be on top of them. You always need to shape every single instance because, you're teaching a new behavior. And what is one of the first rules in teaching new behavior? Continuous reinforcement. So every time they do something like that, you need to reward it. And that's a lot of response effort on you as a teacher because you need to be there with them and you need to keep your eyes on them and you need to make sure that, you're catching every instance. Progress is not always linear, sorry. So that means that even if you think that, eating the pea can just go it could just go like this. Or just even skip a couple steps and go on somewhere else. So you need to be adaptable, you need to be able to identify when that happens, and you need to acknowledge that it can happen and make a contingent plan on it and think things a little bit more thoroughly when you're creating this shaping procedure. And the last one is a bit depressing, but some people just can't shape. And I've talked to my supervisor about this, and he thoroughly believes that there are great ABA therapists out there and BCBAs that cannot shape. And it's hard. It's very easy in concept, but it's very hard to do in execution because sometimes the steps are so small that you just don't know how to shape, or it just happens so quickly that you miss it, or like the reward is just too delayed. So if that's the case, I would always ask for help. I would always ask for guidance, or, you know, just ask someone to kind of evaluate you a little bit and just to help identify where your issues are. But that could also be a reason why the shaping procedure is not successful, because, you know, positive reinforcement or any type of reinforcement is always the best way to change behavior. And shaping's all about that. Shaping's all about that. So I hope that you found this useful. I will include the examples that I have at the end of this video, and hopefully it can kind of like make things easier to understand. And of course, as always, if you have any video suggestions, please let me know. But thank you, and stay safe in quarantine.